Where'd everybody go?
We're here. We're,
Okay.
we're going
Because we
live.
see the doctor's in.
I know. The doctor is in. The
Yes,
doctor
we
is in
are.
with Dr.
Listen,
Demo.
in all this crazy weather, we are in this place.
I
Man,
know. It's crazy weather everywhere, right?
it
I
is. It
know.
is.
I know.
I can't
And
say
guess
that it's crazy weather in here. If you can see behind me, it's
it's
looking
not.
it's looking pretty clear, blue skies,
It's,
but I can see a little clouds forming.
the
See,
clouds
it's
are
it
coming.
might be bad hair weather. Ha ha, pun
I
intended.
know. I was going
Bad hair
there.
weather
We're talking about,
soon.
yeah, we're talking about hair. We're talking about hair today and, hair and
Mhm.
rain and black women. Oh my goodness.
My granny used to say, "Your hair is your crown and glory," and she would get mad at when we would cut our hair. And I think that growing up, I rebelled against that because we're not our hair, but having healthy hair is something that we should talk about. Healthy skin, and I don't think we talk enough about it. We like to say black don't crack, but what are the things that we need to do to keep our black from cracking? And especially in the setting of maybe having a cancer diagnosis and being on medications that dry you out, and kind of just the conditions that we're living under right now. So we get to talk about all of those. Look at that, all that fabulousness. The
I know.
melanin is popping, the hair looks fabulous, and we should talk about how to get it that way, keep it that way, and what are the essential elements of it. So let's do it.
Yeah. And we lose it with cancer, right? And then it comes back and it's all different. So
Mhm.
let's talk about all that. So we have one of my besties today, Vanetta, my bestie. She keeps me beautiful,
Hello,
right? Well,
everyone.
we try. She
Thank
tries.
you for having me on. This is going to be so much fun being here with
Yeah.
Dr. Mo and Amika and one of my favorite people on the whole planet, Ricky. Thank you.
I love you. And
Excited to
Amika, my
have
both sister. Um, and we can talk about when we met, but she's got these great hair products. So let's talk about hair, you guys. I mean,
you. Mhm.
you know,
Let's talk about it. I'm going to tell people we're going live on Facebook right now.
yeah, we are live.
Mhm.
We're live on Facebook, and I'll share it. I can try to share it to your page for you.
Oh, do that
But
because I don't know
yeah,
how to do it. I was just
I
going to
got
say,
I got you. But yeah, we are here and we are, blessed to have this conversation. And I think, I don't know how I should have looked up how big the hair industry is, the black hair industry, but it's billions of
Mhm.
dollars, right?
Billions. Yeah.
Billions.
Texture
And how
hair is
many things?
about $31 billion.
$31 billion.
The
Woo!
market that I'm in.
You know,
$31 billion dollars.
I'm going to ask
Right?
a question related to that 31 billion as we get further along in this conversation, but I want to talk about like chemotherapy induced alopecia in particular.
Mm.
65% of cancer patients have chemotherapy induced alopecia, and I bet it's probably more than that. And they get it from the drugs like the taxanes, the paclitaxel, the
Right, right,
docetaxel,
right,
right? And those two can cause hair loss in 80% of patients.
right.
And how many people actually got talked to about anything regarding medically induced alopecia during their whole treatment journey? And I guarantee you it's not enough of us that have
Right.
had the conversation, especially those of us who have the texture of hair that we have and the complexion that we have. So
Hmm.
it's a very timely conversation to have because there's new stuff out there, and there's innovations and things we should be talking about that we always cover on this show, Ricky, right? What's relevant to Black women in particular that we don't
Right,
get talked about during our journey, and this is definitely one of them.
right. And we have so many women who have been growing their locks for
Mhm.
20 years and now all of a sudden they're gone,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Or I just think about all the time and money we've spent on our hair and
Mhm.
then all of a sudden it's gone and then when you get it back you don't know what to do, but
Right.
it's a
it,
big deal. I mean,
it definitely carries a lot of physical and emotional, cultural,
Yeah.
spiritual, and identity-based feelings around losing your hair. And I see this, often, not even just with people that are experiencing cancer, but I've seen it firsthand. It affects our femininity, our confidence, our self-expression, professionalism, how we feel that we show up professional as it pertains to our hair and our community and our personal
Mhm.
identity. Chemotherapy induced alopecia is more than just hair loss.
Right.
Ooh.
It's
Hmm.
definitely deals with how we attach ourselves with how we feel about ourselves, on top of the challenges that we're experiencing with the sickness itself, right?
Right. Fear
And
and
for
everything that goes along with cancer. Yeah. And then hair is a piece of it, but it's huge.
Yeah, from scalp, eyebrows, eyelashes, facial hair, and body hair. So when those textures change, it definitely impacts the way we feel about ourselves in many cases, especially when we're not prepared for it.
You have a
But
point there, because I don't think that we counsel people that they're going to lose all their hair
mhm,
in places, right? Not just your legs, but your nether regions, your armpits, your nose, right?
Mm,
Why your nose is always running, because you've lost the nose hairs, right? The
right.
brows. It's
Right.
That's really deep. What are some of the identity? How is our hair defining our identity as a culture, I guess? And why did you get into doing what you're doing, Vanetta? Can you give us a little background?
ask your question again, because that was a very power-packed question and it was very broad, and I
Mm-hmm.
would like to unpack that.
It's two questions. The first question is, talk about our cultural connection to our hair. You said that we tend to have a very strong cultural connection, but I
Yeah.
want you to unpack what that means. And then I want you to talk about why you do what you do. Is that why you got into this? How did you, how did you become an expert in this?
I would like to start about why I do what I do. I have been attached to this industry of beauty my entire life. And by that I mean from the womb, from playing with dolls, like many of us can attest to. I think we can align with that for so many of us. Playing with dolls, playing in our own hair, wanting to have that autonomy to be able to identify with the way we want to look based on how we do our own hair. And being that my mom cultivated that for me by creating space for me to do that has impacted me my entire life. And I've always known it's something that I wanted to do, and what I love the most is to make people look good and feel good. And if we think about it, we are impacted daily by what we see in our home, what we see on television, at school for young people that are being impressioned, as well as at work for older people that's re-identifying what that looks like. And especially from a case point of someone that have lost hair due to alopecia for a variety of reasons, because alopecia is not always just induced by medical, it's sometimes just
Stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
exactly stress, anxiety, medication, diet, weather, and then what we do to our hair from braids and different things that adds tension and things of that nature. So I decided that this was the industry for me because I love to make people feel good. And I have the gift in my hands. And then I have the knowledge through technical experience and skill. And I just can't imagine myself throughout my many years of over 30 years professionally as a hairstylist and a beauty expert and an executive strategist is anything beyond making people look good. And it's just something I'm good at, from what you wear to how you carry yourself to your skin and the importance of taking care of your hygiene. All of that is all encompassing. So that's in a nutshell why I do what I do. But to ask the question of how it impacts us culturally is a larger conversation that I don't even know if I'm qualified to have. However, culturally, as a Black American female, many times, and we can even talk about biracial women and just all genders. It's not really a gender related subject, and I want to make that emphasis. But we together, since we're having the conversation, are talking about breast cancer in women and different things of that nature. Is why I only specified a smaller spectrum, but it is a larger spectrum. But culturally, we think about being able to manage our hair. So many of us have different textures, and now they've put it on texture 3A, B, C, D, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. That's just for a joke. But we have these different textures of hair. And because of that, it's most people in my experience that have curly hair want to wear it straight. Culturally, that has been the experience since Madam C.J. Walker decided that we can straighten our hair. But back then, in many cultures, we braided our hair, we twisted our hair, we wore beads in our hair, because hair is an adornment. And that adornment is how we see ourselves. And in our homes, like in my home, my mom didn't go to the hair salon. So it was either she did it, my aunt did it, or I did it. And, you know, for other ethnicities, let's say for a person with a biracial textured hair, where someone in their family hair is more straight as opposed to someone who has curly or extra coily hair, maybe have a blend, and they're learning how to wear it smooth, because in past times society deemed that straight hair was the hair to wear, and that's what was deemed to be acceptable professionally, in many cases, because in corporate America, that's what we saw. We saw the European,
yeah.
the
Yeah,
European,
we start trying to look white. Yeah.
yeah, the European cultures was the standard. Blonde, blue eyes, or brunette, redhead, and many of them wore their hair straight. So that is when it became a cultural thing to transform and wear relaxers, when that became acceptable. But now the liberation and the beauty of being able to accept oneself and their natural hair and being able to style it in what feels free and liberating to the individual is so much more broad. And we have so many policies now that you can't even talk about hair in the workplace, which makes it a liberating thing, because we have so many other things to contend with. But culturally, it's one of those things. It's about how you grew up, what you saw in your home, what you saw on television, and what was socially acceptable in your school, because kids tend to pick on you whether or not your hair is short, long, medium, straight, blonde, blue, black, green, what have you. And so that is where the impression is usually built, is in school, with your peers and what was socially acceptable. And then it wasn't until, you know, you have some form of identity in the home that tells you, like I grew up, that you're beautiful, and have some identity with learning what you love and what you don't like, is when the cultural identity create so many different splits, I'll say shifts. And that's why I say I don't know that I'm definitely the right person to discuss that topic, not because I haven't seen all hair types, but I'm not very culturally versed in what people accept in their home. But I would say someone wrote a song about it, and we've all heard it before. And this is what I try to communicate to my guests: is you are not your hair. And when the identity is not surrounded by your hair, it's more surrounded by who you are as an individual, and how you feel about yourself in a confidence that can't be taken away from you, is where the real work begins. The hair is just an identity of how you want to see yourself. And the beauty of it is you can wear wigs, like I have
You can do anything. Yeah. You
or
can use it
hair
every day.
extensions, or you
do
can wear
that.
your own hair, or you can shave it off. So when I try to have these conversations with women, it's more so about how you want to see yourself and what tools and resources is available to accomplish it, if it can't not be accomplished with the natural hair. But the real beauty is on the inside. And that's where I see beauty. And that's where I try to get my guests to see their beauty. And it has nothing to do with skin or any of those temporal things that can be decided upon based on if you washed your face or not, or if you, adorn yourself in any capacity. It definitely has to do with being made in an image that represents how you want to present yourself to the world. And people see you first when you walk in a room.
Yeah. Amika, what do you think? I know they see you, they get an impression before they even hear you talk.
Yes.
Amika, I'm sure you're
So
seeing the same thing, right?
yes, but now I was gonna say, you say you don't think you're qualified to speak on it. I would say you're very qualified to speak on it. What you've shared, your experiences, I think is very spot on. And so my experience is coming at it from a slightly different angle, but the same. So I'm the founder and CEO of Strands of Faith, and we manufacture products specifically for textured hair. And the reason why I created Strands of Faith was to fill that gap in the market and create products that represented us and that were intentional with clean, non-toxic ingredients for products that were made for us, because many of the products on the shelves weren't as intentional in that way. And so that was one of the biggest whys. And I had no idea that I was going to start a business. My background is actually in clinical research. And so I was a clinical research coordinator, clinical research monitor. So being on that side also, and recognizing how ingredients affect the overall health when it comes to hair, scalp, our body, and all of those things, I carried that with me to say, okay, I'm going to create products that are effective for us, that works, that moisturize our hair, that does all the things, but they're clean. So that was a huge part of why I started. And then the second element of why I started, which has nothing to do with products, which is funny because I say that we're actually a product, we sell products second. What we sell first is hope, faith, and empowerment. And so the thing with Strands of Faith is
I love that,
we,
first of
I
all.
love that
Woo!
too.
yes, when we talk about hair as our identity and all the things, many of the times from little girls, we don't realize how far ingrained our hair identity goes. I had a relaxer starting around 5 or age 6, so I didn't even see the true texture of my hair until I stopped relaxing when I was like 19 or 20 in college. That was the very first time I seen the little spirals and kinks come out of my hair. And before then, Vanetta mentioned European standards of beauty was the thing. And so straighter hair, like we were conditioned to think that made us more beautiful. And so when I got into this space and the empowerment piece, my whole mission and goal was to encourage, our community that yes, we love our hair as a self-expression. We can switch it up. We can wear wigs, we can wear weaves, we can wear braids. But all of those things should be an option because we choose to, not because we feel like we have to cover up because we don't feel like our hair is beautiful after being told for decades and centuries that our hair is not. We've been made to think that our hair is just not beautiful or it's unprofessional, just to say it plain. And so that's why also as a company we educate on texturism, which I found in like my research and sharing, many people don't know what texturism is, which is another form of racism, but it's
Talk about it.
yeah, it's a discrimination against certain hair types and textures. Like when you think about the braids, the afros, and all the things, and you can be as professional and as educated as you want to be, but believe it or not, it's 2026, and you still have some people in high positions, and people are looking down at them as if they are less capable because how they choose to wear their hair. That should not be the case today, which is why the Crown Act exists and why we're, trying to get that implemented in as many states as possible. But culturally, oh man, I could go on and on and on. I love this topic because it just goes so deep. But that's a little bit of why I got started.
Mm,
And my mom went to the hairdresser from every day, as long as I can remember, every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock.
yeah.
She's 93 now, and we just moved her to assisted living. And they have this beautiful, lovely hair salon in the assisted living place. But, of course, it's a white lady doing the hair. So she literally has the white lady wash her hair with her shampoo that her hairdresser gave her. And then she has her black hairdresser that she's had for the last, whatever, 20 years, come to her house and do her hair. Because God forbid that she go to the dining room with all the other 90 whatever people and not have her hair done.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
My mom got COVID 5 times, twice at the
Oh
nail
wow.
salon, 3 times at the hairdresser.
Woo.
And
Wow.
interesting that I have not caught COVID. and no one and I've been in the salon since COVID happened, and I think it's very unfortunate that your mother had to experience that in the hair salon and in the nail salon, because I don't have any traces of anybody catching COVID from our salon.
I
And
know, but
with
it
her
didn't
being,
stop her. But it didn't stop her. That's the
I
thing
know,
that
with
she's
her being
so,
such a
I
fashionista
know,
and
I
going,
know.
it's just very disappointing to hear that
Yep.
that's where she caught COVID, in a salon, in a space where we are supposed to be clean and hygienic. That makes
Well,
me very sad.
COVID was a crazy thing. I don't think you can blame it on the
Well,
salon, but I think just
we
being around
I
other
mean,
people.
I hear you can't blame it on the salon, but that's just, interesting. And I find it very
Yeah.
sad and unfortunate.
yeah. And especially because she's immunocompromised, right? She's on oxygen and that
Exactly.
sort of thing. But
But
I,
Yes.
she didn't care. She did
And
not
yeah,
care. Her hair
it's
was more
wild.
important to her. And to this day, if I went to her house like this without having straightened my hair, she'd be like, "So you were kind of rushed this morning, huh?"
Hmm.
Like Ricky, like, or if we're going somewhere, if I'm going to church or somewhere, she's like, "You're gonna comb your hair today, right? That means I'm gonna flat iron. I'm gonna straighten
But that's a cultural thing too, like
that's
generationally. Yeah,
My
like
grandma
my
used to throw
grandma.
shade. Hmm.
Yeah, like that
And when
that
Haley,
nappy kitchen.
yeah,
Yes.
I know when Haley just went natural with her hair, which she did like a 15, she rebelled against whatever. But I mean, I think there's something in there in her upbringing that you had to do your hair and it had to be straight and perfect
Hmm.
and whatever, But I think also though, just the fact that it had to be done, right?
Right.
And I think that you don't go out of the house without your hair done. I think that is a cultural thing for
Hmm.
Black women, and
and
Yeah.
Amika, I applaud you for stepping out and creating a brand and creating a product, and to be able to educate women about hair. I think that's phenomenal. I definitely want to learn a little bit more about your product, because products
Absolutely.
are so important to
Hmm.
the health and the quality of your hair. And I
Hmm.
definitely would like to applaud Ricky Fairley for all the hard work, and Dr. Mo for all the hard work you do for this industry, and how you see the value and what we put in our hair, and how it can also impact us, and the carcinogens. That's the carcinogens. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
carcinogens,
Carcinogens.
Yeah.
Carcinogens.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
The carcinogens that's in products, and how
Hmm.
important it is to use the right products, and use products that work
Right.
for you, and product that's going to actually do the job, which is why I chose to work with the Veda.
Hmm.
Vanetta, I was coming around the mountain there, coming in for landing right where you are. But I want to talk really quickly first about the lessons we were taught, whether it's conscious or unconscious, about good hair growing up.
Hmm.
And we've sort of
Yes.
alluded to this, but it is
Hmm.
sort of it's the nature and the birthplace of all of these detrimental things that we've done to our hair. And I remember, like, I went to Florida A&M and HBCU. The School of Nursing had a policy: no braids, no locks. And
really
yes,
Yep.
and
Hmm.
this is back in the early 90s,
Yeah.
and you could do your undergrad, and if you were going to apply to the nursing school, they told you before you interview, you need to either straighten your hair, cut your braids, cut your locks. And it was
Hmm.
a
really
policy. It was a
Yep.
at
policy
a Black college.
at a
At a
black at an
Yes.
HBCU in the 90s. And
Mhm.
so I want to talk a little bit about the things that we were taught and learned about good hair that, whether we are aware of it or not, that inform
Hmm.
the products that we're using, Vanetta, because where I'm going with this is this: how many billion-dollar industry?
37 billion.
30-some billion-dollar industry. And we can point out where the carcinogens are, but where's the investment in innovation, in healthy and
Mm.
natural innovation?
Hmm.
Where is it?
Well, yeah, Mika's doing that now with her products. I mean, like,
Hmm.
think about what did it take for you to step out on faith, to do
Right.
strength of faith, to like, what did it step out for you to say, I need to make something that's more healthy, that's safer for my people. And it's also healthier and safer, but also that, to Vanetta's point, that does the job. Whatever the
Hmm.
job is, keeps us
Yep.
moisturized, whatever we need for healthy hair. So
Yeah,
Hmm.
one of the things that I have an interesting story when you talk about good hair versus what some people may say bad hair. I remember growing up, because I told you I've been in this business my whole life, but professionally over 30 years. And I don't know that anyone has ever told me I had good hair or bad hair. I just remember I was told it's supposed to be straight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would put a relaxer on my hair anytime it curled up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I overprocessed my hair and damaged my hair and it fell out. And I have people that come to the salon on occasion that will say, I want a relaxer. And I go to a place or went to a place and they relax my hair every 4 weeks. That is a thought process that takes me back to when I was a kid, is that we were just told we were supposed to have straight hair. And I don't know that there was any broad conversation. I unfortunately have never experienced what you experienced in college, but I've heard the stories and I think it's very unfortunate. But back when we were growing up as Generation X, good hair was hair that you could comb. Anything
Wow.
that was considered manageable. So if you got your hair pressed, because we did the press and comb back then, you walked around and said, I had Indian in my family and I got good hair. That was the thing. And in terms
And
of
that's the
back
part
hair,
of it. You just actually said it, that
yep,
unconscious. I got
yep,
Indian in my family.
exactly. And the bad hair was told, like you said, is if they saw you had kinks in the kitchen, that was considered bad hair. There was no real conversation or definition that I can recall that one would say you have good hair because it's straight or it's naturally curly. It was just what was manageable. But when I decided to be a professional, I've always worked with the highest quality of what I considered high quality. Growing up in the profession, most manufacturers bring the product to the hairstylist so the hairstylist can take it to the consumer, which is why products are saying professional use only, even
Right.
though you can purchase them anywhere, like
Mm-hmm.
at your neighborhood stores. But what happened to those products is once they were tested with the professional, signed off as being the best, that's when that product decided to go to the consumer market and sell directly. And when the product was sell directly, that's when they began to play with the formula and the products didn't perform
And
in the way that it initially,
right. And the
and
price.
it didn't initially. Going back to what I was saying, like when the products was in our hands, they performed. When they took it to the consumer, the product no longer performed because it became, like Ricky was saying, pricing, but it became a numbers game. I have to be able to meet a certain standard or quota to be able to afford to have these products on these shelves. And that's because the product, it's about marketing, what looks good, what feels good, and what sells. And it's not about what's in the product and if the product does what it says it's going to do and it's if it was going to perform. And I got tired over the years of switching products because the products no longer performed and they began to sell to the consumer market directly. I could no longer sign off on that. And because as an expert in healthy hair, and that is the prime thing that is important to me, I decided to work with a product that works. And when I decided that, I really did the education. And education, I've always done education, but the education and switching the brand was now switched from health. And that's why we're talking about clean beauty. And this was almost 20 years ago that I decided to work with Aveda. And back then, working with Aveda, they did not have the breadth within the brand that worked for everybody, which is why there's a misnomer that the product doesn't work for certain demographics. When hair is hair. And when you're working with hair, you want to know the chemistry of what hair that you're dealing with, whether it's fine, medium, or thick, coarse, all of
Porosities, all that.
Yeah.
Yes, dealing with the porosity and water. And that's a whole nother conversation when you're talking about curly hair, because our curly
Yeah,
hair beauties, they want to use water every day. And the porosity is, the water takes their hair to a high level of porosity where it's uneven. And
right.
that's why they have different curl textures, and the hair's dry, the product doesn't absorb, all those things. But I'm going to wrap that up because we can let Amika talk, and I don't want to monopolize it, but I just want to say that I believe in Aveda, because it aligned with what I value most as a beauty professional: healthy hair, intentional care, and overall experience. The product does what it says it's going to do. And there's a product within the breadth of the line that I can find that works with everyone. And I'm able to educate the guests individually on their hair and their strands and what works, and create a regimen that works over time to get them to accomplish the goals of their hair. And it's the science behind what makes the hair healthy, what's
Right.
working, the science would and build that trust and that
Okay.
sensory experience and all the rituals to create that atmosphere to and that education to reconnect the guests with feeling good about themselves with the health and beauty of their hair.
Mhm.
Um, so Mika, how did you address, your development process?
The development process with
Yeah,
manufacturing
for
products.
your products,
Yeah,
yeah.
so when it comes to manufacturing products, formulating, this is why we do specific for texture hair. And Vanetta, I hear your point about, hair is hair. And for like, depending on the product, you can use a shampoo. But for
Mhm.
our hair needs more moisture than like straighter hair because, the natural sebum and oils from your scalp with straight hair, it naturally flows. It's easier to keep their hair moisturized. And that's why they have to wash their hair more often. Whereas if we wash our hair more often, we have a whole process trying to get it back stabilized.
Right.
And
Yep.
so we formulate our products in a way to where they're going to keep your hair healthy but moisturized, and it's not going to kind of like mess up that balance in that sense. And so when it comes to clean product, this is the whole thing too, which is why I love you do education, Vanetta. And this is something we're really big with our brand, is educating the customers and consumer, because I think when it comes to clean, there's also some fear mongering around clean products. What exactly is clean? What is chemical free? Because chemical free, saying it in a general sense, we usually mean non-toxic, not the bad chemicals, ingredients, and things like that. But water is a chemical. I mean, it's organic and it's a part of a product. But
People think chemical free means juices and berries. Seriously, they
yes,
think
the
natural
truth
means juices and berries.
Yes. And so when we talk about products, not everything that's synthetic is necessarily bad, because you have to have preservatives for products to ensure that they're safe and that they're not growing, mold, fungus, and all the things. But what kind of preservative are you using? That's why, parabens have been historically tied to some of the things we talked about health-wise, cancer,
Answer.
fibroids, all that type.
Answer, yeah.
Yeah. And so phenoxyethanol. That is a preservative that's used in products. And sometimes customers will reach out and be like, oh, well, this has phenoxyethanol, and I've read all this stuff on the internet about it. But also, it isn't mentioned that certain ingredients can be used in a level that's deemed and tested to be safe. So it's like, what would you rather have? A preservative-free product that you get shipped to you and it lasts for 7 days, or a product that's preserved but with an ingredient that is less toxic and more effective than like the traditional. So there's a lot that goes into the ingredient side, and then we can go on and on and on about that piece when it comes to sulfate, tones, and all of that, because I know you probably have a perspective also, Vanetta, about dimethic tones and silicones, which we don't use in our product. And the reason why we don't use them is not necessarily because silicones are bad. It's just that our particular target audience, they aren't straightening their hair as often. Dimethicone and silicones are very good for protecting your hair when you're straightening, but if you're somebody like me who wear my hair in its natural state all the time, I'm more focused on moisture. I'm not focused on silicones, keeping like the moisture out and all of that. So we formulate according to the needs of our specific niche customers. that's going to keep their hair healthy, that focus on length retention and moisture, which another conversation we can talk about later. Growth and length retention are not the same. I know sometimes marketing wise, a lot of companies focus on growth, 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 hair oils and growth, but oils, newsflash, don't grow your hair. New oils, hair oils are not going to grow your
Flash.
hair 3 inches in 1 month or whatever the case. So yeah.
I do want to ask you both about that because we get a lot of questions about serums for hair growth. And
Right.
Vanetta, I want you to chime in, but then after you comment on that, are there things that you use, either holistic or things that you've created or things that you're aware of that truly do help to impact and stimulate the follicles for hair growth? Because people are going to be asking in the chat. Like, and I had a patient ask me at BaddyCon this last weekend, what do I do for my baldy? You
Yeah.
know, so we definitely want to talk about that.
I want to go back to clarify what I mean when I say hair is hair. When I consider hair as hair, if the hair is dry, brittle, dehydrated, uneven porosity, hair is hair when it comes to those things. And these are the things that I believe in addressing the challenge with the product that works best. And that's my approach to hair is hair, not so much our hair versus their hair or anything of that. It's the
Right.
challenges that the hair has. It has to be what I try to focus on and why I work with the Veda and why I do what I do as a hairstylist is the natural hair growth starts with the healthy scalp. The healthy scalp,
Absolutely.
it breeds the opportunity for the hair to actually grow, the body and the consistency of the care over time, because hair grows in cycles. And
Yes.
while products can definitely support the environment for growth, healthy hair habits are truly created from the foundation. And so when you address it, it's more than just cleaning the hair or what co-washing the
Well, that's
hair.
topical
It,
and
it's
yeah.
it's not it's not, as she said, it's not topical, it's internal. It's definitely cleansing the scalp, removing buildup, inflammation, excessive tension, poor circulation. All of these things impacts the hair more than just products that it sells. It's the stimulation and proper nutrition. So when you think about hair growth, I personally subscribe to shift that conversation to a doctor, because I believe the doctor has the best experience when it comes to what's going to work for the individual. And that's done through lab testing, blood testing, and things of that nature. So I try not to take my expertise in a realm that does not apply. But through my expertise, and speaking with doctors, I do know that proper nutrition is super important to hair health. Protein, iron, zinc, vitamin D, omega fatty acids, hydration. And hydration is not putting water on your hair. Hydration is putting water in your body. And hydration can also be the products that you put on your hair, which is topical. So the overall nourishment matters to the hair beyond the products that I can use, because I can use the best products, and if you don't have what your body needs, it's not going to breed hair growth. So that low
About
manipulation,
hydration now. Whew.
Excessive heat, tight styles, over processing, tension leads to breakage and traction alopecia, and things of that nature. So when it comes to products, and I'm sure Amika can speak to this, Aveda does have some science behind a product that adds 30% to make the hair more volumizing, make the hair grow, and things of that nature. But the best results for growth is the internal results that you can get
Right.
your body specifically needs. And I try to stay out of that lane, but yet let people know that we can take care of your hair, and healthy hair is definitely gonna grow as long as your body is healthy. And even if it's not, hair typically still grows. It's just the rate in which it grows.
Right.
That's my take on it. So the hair definitely needs structural support, and moisture is a big part of it, depending on the hair type. And it can become weak, it can become dry, it can become brittle. Stress Stress, it definitely impacts whether the hair grows. Perimenopause, I think right now that a lot of women in the Gen Z, perimenopause is a huge factor in whether hair grows, because you have to manage your hormones. So these are the conversations that I'm having in the salon, is like, you have to test your hormones, and that's something that I can't do. The doctor does that, and then identify what level of stress that you could be under from stress related, the lack of rest, the lack
We
of
know we
movement.
say, your piece is non-negotiable. We don't do stress on this show.
Uh-huh. Yeah, your movement and your mindfulness, your emotional health, it all supports the hair wellness. So when clients come to me about, I got that clean beauty, I believe I had that down pat. But I'm definitely interested in learning more about Amika's product, because we always definitely don't mind working with a product that actually works.
I'll send you a kit too to
That
try.
okay,
No, I
that
want
is
some too. I want some too.
Yes.
that is
What,
Oh yeah.
natural, and I
yeah.
like plant-based products,
Hmm.
Amika,
natural products.
what do you think about hair growth, Amika?
Yeah. So hair growth, our philosophy is a little different than the standard. We believe in internal first, and we believe in educating around the hair growth. So hair growth, like she mentioned, Vanetta mentioned about the nutrition. Nutrition is the main foundation for hair growth internally. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that because it's not microwave, it's not fast. You got to take accountability. You got to be in charge of that piece. But a lot of people don't realize how much low iron and vitamin D, low vitamin D, how it affects hair loss and the cycles. That's all attached to those cycles that she mentioned, like the anagen phase, all the different phases of hair growth. And so many times people think they may have a hair growth issue, and it may just be a vitamin deficiency issue. And so if you're taking your vitamins and all of that is to the level where it needs to be, and you know that for sure, which many of us don't usually know until we get the panel, but if you know that for sure, then your hair is going to constantly grow. And even though the average is 6 inches a year, it varies for everybody. I think at one point I measured mine and it was like 1/4 of an inch. And the second piece of that, which is why we love to educate on length retention, is because your hair is always growing if it's healthy. But the issue is most people aren't retaining it. And so if your hair is growing 6 inches, but you're flat ironing it all the time, or you're putting all these chemicals in it, or you're getting unnecessary trims, then you're cutting off the growth that's coming out the scalp and you're not retaining it. But if you have healthy hair practices to where, it's healthy and you have everything kind of under wrap, then you're going to start to see the growth. And that's actually the retention that you're seeing. And so I think that's our approach when it comes to specifically with hair growth. Another thing with hair growth with women, I don't know if any of y'all experienced this, but I have 4 kids, and every single one of my kids, after my kids, I lost my edges. Like they were like ball. And that's due to the postpartum shedding, which in one of the phases of hair growth is when you're pregnant, that phase
Right.
stays longer, which is why a lot of people in their hair get fuller, thicker, and they're like, oh man, I wish I can keep this. And then after the fact, when the hormones stabilize, it falls out, and you're like, dang, like, what's going on? It's a shocker for most. The body usually restabilizes itself. But those are just the parts of hair growth cycle. So I think if like the consumers understood more, they will feel less, they'll feel more empowered about their hair growth. And so when customers come to us about, do you have a product for hair growth or how can I grow my hair fast? We do the education first, but then also we do have products that are geared towards scalp stimulation and things like that. So our Blessed Strands Herbal Elixir is what we usually recommend. It has cheve powder and a lot of different herbs that's beneficial to the hair growth cycle, but it helps to stimulate the follicles, when you're doing like massages and things like that. But we don't ever attach a promise to it. You're never going to hear us say that our product is going to do a certain thing because it's a combination of it all together. And then also, I also recommend to customers if they have like a hair growth issue that they aren't familiar what brought it on, I always say go and see a dermatologist first so that they can really, look further and to see what steps you need to take to probably get it on the right track. If it's something like traction alopecia, that could possibly be reversed if it's, like tight braids and something like the user is doing. But that's my take when it comes to hair growth.
So it's almost like if you're having hair growth issues, it's not your hair.
Right.
It's not
It's
about
not
your
your
hair.
hair.
So, I mean, I think we say, okay, what can I put on my hair to make it grow? But it's not your hair, it's your body. It's like,
Your
Mhm.
body.
it's like your health, it's like your stress level. So all these things. And so how many products are out there about hair growth that people
Mm,
are buying?
Yeah, it's that marketing. The marketing is phenomenal
Yeah,
for
but that's not going to help you,
it-
you
and
know?
yeah, and
Trust
that's
me.
why Amika said that her company is education first. That's so important because hair can be growing from the scalp, but if the ends are splitting and breaking,
Hmm.
the person may never see their growth. So it's important to maintain healthy ends, and
mm,
I take pride in that. Like most of my clients, you'll see their hair is healthy from root to end if they follow the regimen specifically that I recommend. And that's reducing the splitting and the breakage. And it helps to improve the manageability and support the styling and all of the things that retains the length. The
what
frequency
happens to
also,
our, sorry, go ahead.
as she was saying, the frequency is when you're not seeing that growth. But if your hair is broke off and it's growing and you're trimming and it's growing and it's trimming to get it to that
Right.
healthy state, then once you
Hmm.
get it there, that's when you'll start seeing that growth.
Hmm.
What happens to our hair as we age, right? We get our grays and the texture changes. What's going on
Gray, here
there?
we
Because,
go. Thinning
right,
hair, see
we
my
might have
gray.
had what we considered more ruly and manageable hair, and all of a sudden something is different. And I hear that a
These
lot of
gray
women
hairs have their
to,
own personality. These gray
is
Yeah.
it
hairs,
hormonal changes that change it, or is it, like what's going on that changes the texture there?
I think it's,
Um,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Vanessa.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I believe it's more so hormonal. Like I think someone mentioned something about perimenopause and all the changes that come along with it. Because many of our customers, like once they get their gray hair, they explain it as wiry, even harder to moisturize than before. And so that texture it's the actual texture change. And so it's like you're having to learn how to care for your hair all over again. And it may require even switching products. Products that previously worked may not work anymore, so I believe it's just a combination of just the older age, the hormones, and the changing texture of your hair, just similar to like cancer patients when their hair is growing back after losing their hair often is changed in texture as well.
it is. It is.
Yeah, I can't repeat what she said again. It's definitely hormones, circulation, nutrition, stress, genetics, and just overall wellness. That's what we're dealing with aging hair. But I think the biggest thing as we get older is our hormones. That
Oh,
is that is the biggest that is the biggest the biggest thing. But gray hair, for many of us, it's just so weird. You got to deal with the hydration. You're going to intensify the hydration with gray hair because it's a lot coarser in many cases and wiry, and we tend to try to forget about it and we try to do less with it because with gray hair it can turn yellow, can turn green, and so when we do less with it, it becomes a little bit more porous. And it's just part of the genetics from the hormonal changes that and our health conditions, our nutritional deficiencies. So with it being drier, it just happens to change the texture. So we got to do extra moisture, gentle cleansing, hydration focused products,
Right.
scalp care, heat protection. Those are the biggest things when it comes to gray hair. And now, with my gray hair that want to wear their hair straight, we're putting clear color coats over their hair so we can apply heat that it doesn't turn yellow. And for those that we're also using lemon juice and vinegar, anything that's going to make the hair whiter, and using oils to make it less dry, as well as smoother and moisture treatments.
Mhm.
It's so important. We use our steam treatment and we use our red. I wish I can tell you right now, but we use the infrared. That's what I'm trying to say. The
Mhm.
infrared lighting, which helps to soften the hair as well. So for with our gray hair women, that has been a game changer for sure.
Yeah. And
So
another thing oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Sure.
another thing I'll add, which is, I guess it's a bit controversial depending on what perspective or who's listening. But sulfate, we don't use any sulfates in our products. That's another thing. When I first transitioned back, sulfates were like super drying to my hair. It killed my hair. Sulfates are
Yes.
strong enough
What
detergent to
are
where it,
sulfates? Can you tell
Yeah,
people what
what
they
okay.
sulfate? Yeah.
mean?
Yes. So sulfate is an ingredient that they use in cleansing products to, cleanse your hair, and it really strips your hair for textured hair. And it has its place again, like I was talking about the silicone. If you have something like silicones, you need something that's a little bit more capable at, stripping it off so that the moisture can go back in. But for someone who wears their hair in a kinky state or a textured state more often, you really don't need sulfates as much. So we use more gentle cleansing ingredients, like desoglucoside. We use SCI, cocoa betaine, and they get the job done. But when you wash your hair won't feel like that squeaky clean to where now you feel like you have to do a 3 or 4 step process to get that moisture back in and reset the levels. And so I just wanted to add that because people with gray hair, maybe if you want to, switch your shampoo, it's the first step. That could be one way to keep the moisture in a little bit longer.
Let me ask you this, because what I heard you say, and I want to make sure that I get this because this sounds important, is that when you look at the ingredients on the shampoo and you see sodium lauryl sulfate, right? And you see that's like the thing that makes it soapy and sudsy
Right,
Yes, the
and
right.
squeaky
SPLS is yes.
clean. That's the
Hmm.
thing you're saying that we maybe should consider not using
We don't
because
want that.
it strips away everything. And that squeaky
Right. At
clean is
least not on a
oily. Mhm.
consistent basis. If you use it okay every now and then as a clarifier, cool. I don't want to say I'm completely against it, but as a consistent routine, wreak havoc on your hair. And that's actually when I just recently locked my hair like 3 months ago, y'all. But when I was growing out my hair, I grew it out to my waist, the longest I had ever been. And it was because, of course, the healthy hair practices, but the products that I was intentional about using. And the first thing was getting rid of the traditional shampoos. So yes.
Interesting. Can we talk about braids for a second? Um, and maybe
Sure.
because I've been seeing all this stuff on Instagram, and I'm not very good at Instagram, where I guess and there's like a bunch of celebrities they're showing that I guess the braids are like pulling their hair back or whatever, and there's all these products to like keep your hair like not lose your hairline. Is that a way to describe it? But also, we now know that these braids have these chemicals in them that are causing cancer.
Hmm.
I mean, what do you think about braids? Do you think, I mean, how many people spend
um
a fortune, and so much time on braids? I've never had my hair
Hmm.
braided, so I can't really
Which
speak
is
to
a
it.
huge part of our culture too, by the way. Yeah, culture.
But what do
it's
you think about it?
synthetic braiding hair products and synthetic braids, it has been known to have volatile organic compounds that could be flame retardant, synthetic fibers. Like a lot of times in the braiding hair, they're changing the structure of the hair itself by many different ways. So a lot
Hmm.
of times for us, when we do braids, we use human hair.
Hmm.
Because human hair is the better option. One of the things that I've experienced with synthetic hair and braiding, and not to say that we haven't used synthetic hair braiding, but when you braiding the hair down, think of it. This is how I like to explain it to people, and this is the way I like to see it. To not get in the scientific side at this very second, but if you think about a sponge or a brawny paper towel and you're wiping up some liquid, the brawny paper towel absorbs the sponge. If it's wet already, typically, or even if it's dry, depending on the porosity of the sponge, it will absorb. With that synthetic fiber and you putting it in the hair, and we talk so much about how much the hair needs the natural oils, that synthetic fiber is absorbing
Suck it up.
the oils that is necessary for our hair to thrive and to be healthy. Because the drier that the hair is, the more likely and susceptible it is to breaking, which is why so many people are experiencing breakage after they remove their braids, or the tension from the synthetic fibers. It's just sucking the life out.
It's like cutting it.
Exactly. They're sucking the life out of the braid. So that's the way
Wow.
I like to explain it. But when you
Yeah.
talk about the synthetic fibers and the coatings and the compounds, how they release chemicals, when we do, like, sometimes our crochet is synthetic, we don't know where these products come from. We shampoo every hair that comes into our salon, synthetic or human, because we're going to have to remove whatever fibers or synthetic fiber, not fibers, let me take that back. Whatever compounds on the hair that release some form of oxygen from the friction or any of that into the atmosphere or in the exposure, it just kind of minimizes and eliminates. I can't speak from a medical terminology because I have not done the research what synthetic hair does to people, but from what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding, that the long-term use and periods does impact people in some cases, but I don't know to what degree. But ingredients on the skin, a lot of times people will find they break out on their skin and different things of that nature. But the biggest thing for me and what I deal with particularly is the health of the hair. Synthetic fibers braided into the hair, being and pulling, and the tension is just not healthy, which is why you see the cuts in the hair. The hair, you have help me out, Amika. I cannot believe me. I can forget this. The hair made of cuticle cortex and the medulla.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Amika, I want you to chime in here, and then if anything left on the science of what's going on with the synthetic hair, I can chime in on that from a medical standpoint too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the recent article, I know the one that came out where it was talking about the chemicals and all the organic, I mean, the volatile ingredients on it. Actually, it's so funny that the chemicals are so embedded in the hair. Washing it is a good start anyway. But in the article, it was saying that even washing, and sometimes people do ACV rinses, like apple cider vinegar rinses, to try to get rid of it. And those are a great first step just to help. But believe it or not, that those chemicals, they're still in the hair. And that's so unbelievable that they're putting things like that on the market. I mean, it's unbelievable, but then again,
it's the
really,
mass production.
Yes. And then most time they're imported over here from, they're not regulated and things like that. I do know there has been, it's a few Black-owned brands, looking off the top of my head, I think Lashed and Hook. It's like two or three, and they're more intentional about the synthetic hair that's non-toxic, and they've done like tests and stuff like that. I wish I could remember off the top of my head, but y'all could probably type Black-owned synthetic free, I mean chemical free synthetic hair. But I think culturally, like I said, braids are a staple in our community, and I don't believe that we're going to get people to move completely away, because when you think about relaxers, we know about the health benefit or the health not non-beneficial relaxers, but we still do it. And so I think it's more so educating, but then maybe moving people to certain things like, hey, maybe consider getting your braid once every 3 months instead of once every, more often, that type of thing. But yeah, so that's
using human hair.
Well,
yes, or using human hair. But also then you're looking at a whole nother conversation of affordability and like it's going deeper though.
it brings up a good point though, because even with hair relaxers, right? So the data and the research that's been done has looked at the correlation and I'll say the association of certain products, synthetic hair relaxers, hair dyes, etc., and incidence of cancer. And so much of that data is related to the frequency. right? So
Mm-hmm.
individuals who did it
Yes.
maybe twice a year had a lower risk of developing cancer in their lifetime compared to someone who did it every 2 months, or
Right.
you know what I mean. And so it's an interesting area of study, and the mechanisms they think are related to what we call endocrine disruptors. Somebody put it in the chat,
Mm-hmm.
very astute, talking
Right.
about
Yes.
the way these chemicals modulate
I was just reading
our, yep,
Right.
the way these chemicals modulate
Right.
our endocrine, our hormonal systems, right? So you're
Absolutely.
seeing
Yeah.
more PCOS, you're seeing more dysfunctional uterine bleeding, you're seeing more of the autoimmune diseases, more inflammation in the body, and all of those
Mm-hmm.
may be
Yes.
contributing to cancer risk. So we can't say it's correlation equals causation, but there is
Right.
association that we need to explore. And rather than keep looking at the problem, I still say we need to be looking at solutions. Where's the investment? If we
Right.
know that these things
Right.
are toxic,
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
why
Right.
the dollars drying up for Black innovation
Right.
in
And you
haircare?
mentioned that about the
I'm
VC
mad.
Yeah.
investment funds. That's a
Yeah,
whole nother topic.
about it.
Because
Look
We
at
just
how
I
are
keep
people
actually,
investing.
right. You
Yeah.
just keep
yeah.
pointing at the problem, right? But
Right.
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Right. Right.
it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
And
Somebody invest in, because these small Black businesses that are doing the work that you are doing, and small business is large business. But
mm-hmm.
why is it, you should be funded by Estee Lauder. You should be funded by, like,
It's,
where is
No,
this?
well,
it's the,
look what
it's,
happened to Carol's daughter.
Right.
She was
yes.
working in her kitchen in Brooklyn, and along came, the big company and bought her
And by
out.
the way, she bought it back. I
She
think
did buy
last year.
it
Last year she did.
because
But to the
she
point
saw the
about the
degradation. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the VC funds, and when it comes to investment within our community, like you probably know that less than 1% of Black founders receive VC funding, and so that leads us to have to figure out how to get capital and funding. We're in year 8, and I've been bootstrapping this thing from the
You go,
start.
girl. You
It
go,
has
girl.
been
You go, girl.
Thank you. But it has been absolutely tough. And so for me, I have a solution, I have traction, validation, and all those things. But the funding, we need capital and funding to grow. And that remains to be a huge part. Like if we had the capital, like the big beauty and who's been around, then within our community, we can be able to put out better products and have a bigger impact on our community because we know what we're putting out there is good. And so I just wanted to mention that piece because I know you mentioned about BC earlier. And we just got a grant today, by the way. I just want to shout out American Express and Main Street
Congrats.
America because they just invested $20,000 in us. But those grants help us to continue to push the mission forward, which is so needed. So I'm grateful for that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, people are
Thank
asking
you.
congrats, at where to buy your product. So I'm looking at to put them. I put your website in the chat.
Oh,
Um,
yes, strandsoffaith.com.
and you can buy it on Amazon.
Yes. Oh, and Amazon as well.
Yeah, we don't love Amazon, but well, if
Yeah.
you your products.
Our direct to consumer site first, and that's for
So
any Black owned brand or business. Yes.
standardstrife.com.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll put that for sure. Um,
Mhm.
wow, it's 7:02. Wow, have we did, so much to talk about
So
here.
much to talk
That
about.
flew by.
It
So
did
much to
fly
talk
by.
about.
It
So
sure
much to
did.
talk about.
We didn't even get the skincare, so we got to do a
No,
part
I
2,
know. We'll do a part
right?
2. We're going to
For
talk about
sure.
part 2. Yeah, like we didn't get to eyebrows and like all the other things, so we got much more to talk
We
about.
didn't get to relaxers
Oh,
No,
yeah.
it
You're
was,
right.
we
You're right.
got to do a
We got
or
part 2.
to it.
Brazilian blowouts or any type of
Yeah,
smoothing
right. This is
treatment.
a whole series, you guys. This is a whole
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
Hair and beauty
This was
we'll
such
talk
a
about.
great dynamic
Yep.
conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Nikki, I think we should invite Tia to the next one too, because her
I
work
know. Tia couldn't make it. Yeah.
work.
Tia's been really gone down, the healthy hair, healthy product thing. And we
Mhm.
tried to get Kim Roxy on, but we'll schedule.
Yeah.
Kim Roxy does, she was at Batty Con the other
Mhm.
day talking about clean makeup.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just, you know what? At the end of the day though, and Vanetta, you said this, so much of how we feel is based on how we look and how
Yeah.
how we want people to look at us and perceive us. And on one hand, that's a good thing. On the other hand, beauty is skin deep. That's what my grandmother used to say, look at the heart first. But we focus and spend so much money and time on our outer self. And frankly, as you said, the hair growth is from within. So many
Yes.
things about your hair are about how healthy your body is. And so
Yeah.
Let's talk about that more. We'll schedule a next episode to make this conversation continue because you
Love it.
guys are awesome.
It
I love you so much.
well, it
Mhm.
definitely also is having a good hairstylist.
There you
I
go.
Have
There
all
you
the good
go.
products in the world, but we definitely need a good hairstylist.
you
A
do.
hairstylist is gonna do good work, educate you, and keep your hair healthy and grow your hair all at the same time.
I
You
love
just
it. I love
answered
your
my
We do the
marketing.
question.
work behind the products.
I
I
was
know.
going to ask you that question.
Amen.
How do you know which a good one? But you gave it to us, so absolutely. I was really,
Yeah.
there's so many
So
out there. But how do you know who's
A
how
good
do you
really
know
a
who's
good?
good
good?
stylist is going to treat you well, educate you on the health and quality of your hair, and give you a regimen that is going to work with the goals that you want to have.
Hmm.
Anybody, I always tell people, anybody can curl and style hair. Most of us learn how to do that first. But everybody can't take care of your hair and improve the quality and the health of your hair, and also provide you with the knowledge to inform you what
Hmm.
products is best for your hair.
That's
So
a skill set.
yes, a good hairstylist is going
Right.
to be able to encompass it all.
Mhm.
Anybody can be creative and put a wig, lace front, hair extensions, and I love all of that. But
Hmm.
the health of your hair in between those services, or the health of your hair without
Underneath.
any
Underneath. Right.
Right.
hair extensions, is what's most important. Cleansing the scalp first, cleansing the hair, and addressing the challenges: dry, limp, brittle, overhydrated. It kind of speaks to being limp sometimes, or just
Hmm.
fine
Yep.
and thin, and any of those things. So a hairstylist should be able to address the challenges you have, and you should be able to see a result within the same day or within 3 months
Wow.
Yeah.
of the visit. And then
Mhm.
depending on how good, bad, or indifferent the hair is with achieving the goals, it can take a year. But most of the work is done at home. Is
Wow.
that what you do every day, every week, and every month? We only can do what you allow us to do by how often you come and see us.
Yeah. And when
Yeah.
I leave her, when she after she cuts my hair, um, she says, "Do you love your hair?" And she takes a picture and she takes a picture of me.
It's
Oh.
important
But
that you love your hair
yeah,
because
it's like, do you love your hair? And if
Yeah.
and I've never said no, but if I did, you'd make me sit down.
if you don't love your hair, we're going to fix it. But
I
most
know.
importantly, if your hair is not healthy, you may not love your hair, but we can get you to that place where you
Hmm.
eventually love
Yeah.
your hair. And that's
And
the
that's a small but important detail of shows your care. Because not
Mhm.
all stylists is gonna ask you that. Some of them are
Hey.
gonna be like, they getting their money and they done. They don't care if you like it
I
or not. So
that's
You
nice
heard
that
it
you
here.
point that out,
Listen.
Ricky, because I
You
don't
heard
realize
it
that I
here.
do that, but it is very important because I want you to love your hair. And I
Yeah.
Right.
ask people, especially if it's their first visit, what do you love about your hair? And what is it about your hair you don't love? So it's because you said, I recommend which will.
Mm.
These
Well,
are the things that I use to help me attain. So if you love your length, guess what? We can't cut it all off.
Right.
But
well, we
so
heard it
it's just
here.
listening. A good hairstylist
Mhm.
listens.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah, a good hairstyle
I'm putting you guys stuff in the comments.
listens,
And
right?
listen.
Values what is this is the same characteristics of a good physician too. Someone who
Yeah.
listens,
right.
someone
Hmm.
who finds out what is important and valuable to you, someone who educates you,
Yeah.
on your health, who spends time with you, who, right? Like these are all great characteristics. As you think about the health of your hair, the health of your body.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how, knowing when that relationship is good and finding that good fit for you
Yeah.
is super important. So ladies, thank
Yeah.
you all so much for joining us for this first of a series. It truly will be a series
It's a
to
series. It's a series. We
talk
got it.
about all things
This
that
is
are
amazing.
and
Thank you
wellness
for having me. Thank you for
related.
Thanks
having
for
us.
having us, and
Thank you for what
we'll
you're
try the
doing with
product.
Hands of Faith, right? Like this is a big deal because as she mentioned, less than 2%, right, of the industry of the investment. So we got a lot of work to do to make sure that we're supporting our own. So go to the site, like, follow, share. I think we put how we can reach you, Vanetta, and people
Yeah.
can follow
Yeah.
you in the chat. And we, hope it's relatable, reliable, and real. So we do so what we do on the Wednesdays. And what we do here in our chats, Ricky, is that, we try to keep it that way.
Keep it that
Always.
way. For real. Yeah.
Thank you. And I
Thank
hope
you so
that
much.
anyone that if they can take anything away from this experience, especially if you have lost your hair, is to find a space within yourself to find your peace and allow someone to help you, because hair doesn't make or break you. It's just one part of you, and it's an adornment, and it's an adornment that we can always assist you with. So love yourself and find your group network. And if I could just say this, that Ricky has been the most instrumental in my family, losing two sisters to cancer in the last 5 years. And having that support group has been the huge transformation to their well-being. And on one of my sisters' passing day, she was experiencing something, and she said, "I don't know, call Ricky." And that speaks a lot to touch and the great work that you do. Beyond, I mean, we can talk about this topic, but there's some real serious challenges that people are experiencing as it pertains to their mental health around their illnesses that impacts the loss of their hair. And we definitely want to give shout out to Touch and all the work that you do, and Doctors In, for having this network and having this opportunity for people can have a place to be able to see themselves, hear themselves, and heal through what they're going through. So thank you for this platform.
Thank
Thank
you.
y'all for joining us. We'll see you.
Thank you for joining us. We'll go do hair now. Maybe I'll comb it today.
That's it.
Blessty love. Blessty love. Love you,
Best.
Mo.
I love
Love
you
you,
too.
Nana.
Talk soon.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.